Good morning. Good morning. It is Sunday, February the 13th, and I am Jewel Pearson, and this is the frequently asked questions portion of the Creating Home, a Tiny House series journey. I am going to wait a few minutes to give people a few minutes to join, and then we will get started. Good morning. Good morning. I think I see some coffee cups. Good morning. I'm not a coffee drinker, but you all enjoy. I'm working on becoming a tea lover. It's a slow journey for me. Absolutely. Like, share, subscribe, and comment. I appreciate that. Let's get this on the right track early in the morning. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, good morning. Hello from sunny Africa. Good morning. Thank you for being here. Green tea, yeah. I got to work on my tea thing. Hello from the Bahamas. Okay, you all are representing this morning. Thank you for being here. I know it's early. I keep saying somebody says they like coffee and tea. I know I keep saying thank you for joining. I know it's early in some parts. It's early afternoon on the East Coast of the United States where I am. But I thank you all for getting up and joining. I've got somebody from Denver. Thank you for joining. So my name is Jewel Pearson. This is my channel, Miss Bohemian Soul TV. This morning is one of the installments of the Creating Home, a Tiny House series, and this is the frequently asked questions portion of that series. There's new content every Sunday morning at this time, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And so we alternate. One weekend it's the Conversations on Intimate Spaces, where I interview someone within the movement, maybe the tiny house world, van lifers. We had a conversation last weekend with some van lifers. And then the other weekend, the alternating weekend, is What's Your Question? And that is this series where I answer frequently asked questions or things that I think will be helpful to people who are interested in this movement to help them in their journey. And again, my name is Jewel Pearson. I researched, designed, and built my tiny house in 2015. And since that time, I have been sharing my journey via social media to hopefully inspire others who are interested in the movement. I do also offer workshops and consultations and things to help people get further in their journey, but really I hope to inspire someone as I share my story. Everything that I do within the movement space, workshops, the consultations, all of that information will be in the description for this video. So if you're interested in further conversations with me after this conversation, then please feel free to find that information and get in touch, and I'd love to work with you. So this morning we are going to be talking about the journey and getting out of your own way in your journey, and we'll be relating this in this conversation to a tiny house journey, but really what we'll talk about is going to be applicable to, across any scenario, any dream, any journey that you're trying to follow. The steps that we'll talk about to get out of your own way and to get moving on your journey will be very similar. So again, we're talking about tiny houses, but take this information and use it as you can throughout life, and I hope that you'll find it enjoyable. All right, how to get out of your own way. So a lot of the times, as I hear from people interested in the movement, they seem to be stuck in their head. They know they're interested in the movement, but they can't seem to move forward. And that's what we want to talk about today. Kind of getting out of your own way so that you can move forward in the journey, achieve the lifestyle, the dream of tiny house living, and move it from just a dream to something that is actual realization. And so, one of the first things that has to happen is the dream has to become part of it. They just want to kind of dream about it, but then the work part of it becomes a little bit scary. That is a hard step. One of the things I have spoken about, and I have a video that you can refer to, is the components of dreams. So I have a Dreaming All the Dreams video where I talk about the and to help you move forward from just kind of the thought bubble over your head that I want to do this, to moving to actual action and doing the work to make the dream a reality. So if you have some questions about how you move from dreams to actions, be sure to check out that video and to talk about to see the components in doing so. For me, as I share my journey, when I first was interested in the movement, I'm a paper and pen kind of person. So I'll share with you. This became kind of like I used to call it my Bible for my journey. On the back of it was my motivation. I've always said I wanted my reasoning behind it being interested in the movement was because I wanted to live and know freedom. And so this was my inspiration. This is all of this content in this 3-ring binder became the home that I'm sitting in right now. So it is putting some action into the dream. Initially, it can be, if you're not ready to step forward in the action, it can be putting it to paper. My friend Christine Platt might disagree with me on the Afro minimalist. She's trying to move us away from paper, but for me, I still need some paper, so I'm putting it down in my journal and I'm talking to it, and I'm thinking about the things that I want to do, and I've got something that is moving out of my head and it's moving to paper, and it's helping me visualize the direction that I want to go in. For me, one of the things that I also did as I started trying to save money for my journey, I had a separate bank account for my funds that I was saving for my tiny house journey, and I actually named it the Tiny House Fund. So as I saw it growing, as I was putting money into it, I knew that I was working towards achieving that dream. And so those are some of the things that kind of help you move forward to, even if you're not really in the steps of the actual tiny house build, but those are the things that can help you be encouraged that you're moving towards that dream. So getting out of your head, putting some plans, some actions behind the actual dreams. And then the next component is making the plan. So you've got the initial dream to paper, and you know that where you're working. Once you get started to moving toward the actual plan of the tiny house journey, you want to have make a plan. You want to make a solid plan. And I've also one of the very first episode in this frequently asked questions series was how to get started in the tiny house movement, in the tiny house journey. And I talked through the main steps that you'll need to consider to move forward with building a tiny house, and the things that you'll need to evaluate to help you figure out your journey and the direction that you're going. So if you don't know how to start your plan, refer back to that video. It is how to get started. It is episode 1, and it will help you come up with a solid plan. And then the third step is doing your research. So there's a lot of information out there on the internet. You can refer to that information. to help you along in your journey. There are several schools of thought around tiny houses, and you'll want to entertain all of that to make sure, as you find something that resonates with you or someone's journey that is kind of the direction that you want to go in. So you'll want to follow their journey and learn from them and find out the options that are available to you and just figure out the direction that you want to go. That information is available to you. There's a lot of information on YouTube, social media, so much good information out there that you can refer to. It's a bonus now that that information is out there, because when I was researching in 2013, 2014, it wasn't there. So that's a bonus that you have available to you to be able to check in on others' journeys and learn from them. But one of the things that you have to be careful as you're looking into all of this information is not to become overwhelmed and not to get into a space that is called decision paralysis, where you become overwhelmed with all of the information out there and you just at some point really stop because you don't know where to go. Maybe you've read something that kind of conflicts with something that you read over here and you're stuck now and you don't know the direction that you're going to go in. And that is a common thing to happen, to have decision paralysis, where you just kind of feel overwhelmed, like you're drinking out of a fire hose. That is when you might want to spend some money and pay the experts. So you're doing your research, but then there are also people out here who are already on the journey and they have walked the walk that you want to walk. And so those are the people, as their journey resonates with you, those are the people that you might want to seek out for assistance. And I always say, pay the experts. Don't feel like that you are entitled to their information. They've invested in their knowledge. They've invested in their journey. So don't feel like that you're entitled to their information without being willing to pay the experts. When I speak about my case, I share a lot of information here on my journey, social media, a lot of free information that can help you on your journey. But then if you want to do the one-on-one work, then you have to be willing to invest in yourself to pay the experts, pay those folks. And when I speak about paying those folks, I'm talking about myself as well. You have to consider that if you're in decision paralysis, then time becomes money. So you don't want to get stuck there without being willing to pay to move yourself forward. And one of the things that I always consider, if you're not willing to invest in yourself, if you're not willing to invest in your journey, then I really can't understand why you would expect me to invest in you if you're not willing to put that work in yourself and to value yourself as well as value my knowledge and my time. All right. The fourth note here is to be in community and build a support system. So one of the things that I hear a lot from people is that, I talk to my family about my dream of a tiny house, or talk to my friend, and everybody thinks I'm crazy. And sometimes that gets people stuck. One of the things that I will say, maybe that friend or the family, unless those people are paying for the tiny house, then you probably will want to find you a community and build a support system of like-minded people who understand the tiny house journey. Your family, your friends, maybe those are the people that you hang out at the mall, maybe those are your travel partners, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to understand your tiny house journey. It doesn't mean that they're supposed to be the support system for your tiny house journey. Their purpose in your journey or in your life is something else, and you have to understand and respect that. But there's plenty of resources and people out here in the community that you can then build a support system with, that you don't have to kind of give the background of why you want to do this. They already know why you want to do it because they're doing it. So you'll want to build a support system so that you can have the support through your journey versus feeling like you are doing something that really doesn't make sense and you don't have support within your local community to get you on your way. And then I think I'm 5 here. Yes, on number 5, comparison. So I think this is one of the things that unfortunately social media perpetuates a lot, because you'll find that people are sharing their snippets of whatever they have going on, and oftentimes you'll find yourself in comparison mode of wherever you are in life or whatever you're doing in comparison to what you see of that few minutes snippet. Stop comparing. Comparison is the thief of joy. What you should be taking from the journeys, especially if you're looking at someone else's tiny house journey, is taking their understanding that regular people are doing the things that you want to do. That's one of the main things that you should be able to learn from watching their journey. Here with the conversation series, the very first week we talked to Adikia of Casita Cologne. And then last week we talked with Vaughn and Jay from Butterfly Lifers, sharing their journeys. And I've shared my journey. I have a video, Luxury Living in a Tiny House, where I've shared my journey. That is meant as inspiration. That is meant to encourage you. That is meant to help you learn from our journey, to help you learn from maybe the mistakes that we've made, or things along our journey that might help you decide to maybe do something different or maybe follow along. But it's the people that are paving the way, again, so that you can see that regular people are doing the things that you want to do. But it is meant to be inspiration. It is meant for you to be able to take something, learn from something that we're sharing, but it is not meant for you to compare your journey. Your journey is your journey, and our journeys have been our journeys. And to stay stuck in a place of comparison, or to get in a place of comparison, is absolutely
All right. I have gotten through the content that I wanted to talk about this morning, of getting out your own way, being able to move forward with your journey, and
being able to move the journey and get out of your head, and get your dreams into actions. Are there some questions? Let's see what questions we have tonight. This morning might be a quick session, because that is what I intended to cover. All right. Is it Akita's Garden? You are wide open this morning in the chat, I see. Hi, Crystal. Good morning. Hi, Taishay. We'll be talking to you soon. All right, let me see if I see some questions this morning. Good morning. Crystal, you said you're working. All right. Congratulations that you're thinking about buying a tiny house. All right. Here's a question. Buy land first. That's one of those questions that is going to be specific to your situation. It's also going to be determined whether you're building on wheels or you're building on foundation. I would say refer back to episode 1 of the frequently asked questions, because I did talk about that a little bit. So that's going to, again, be specific to your situation. All right, let's see. I don't see any questions this morning. It's crazy not to build a tiny home. I agree with that. A tiny home is a great opportunity to create income as well. I would agree with that. All right. I'd like to build a tiny home community. Any suggestions here? I think the best thing I can tell you is to absolutely research the rules in your area, because those rules are going to change and be specific to your city and county. And then I would say go for it. Once you find an opportunity where you can build a community, they're absolutely needed. So I'm all behind building community. That's one of the things that I intend to do, both literally and figuratively. All right, here's a question. What other goals have you achieved since that tiny house build technique has worked for? Since the What other goals have you achieved since that the tiny house build technique has worked for? I'm not sure I understand the question. I'll try to explain the way I'm understanding it. I think I approached my tiny house build um, from a project management standpoint, hence my notebook that I just shared with you. And it's kind of how I approach everything. So anything that I'm working on, that I am a project manager kind of by trade, and that's really how my brain works. So um, that's how I approach most things. All right. Hi, Afia. What are your feelings about box houses and containers? Are they more cost effective? We talked about this earlier this week. Thanks for the question. I would really say you have to do your comparison, because right now with um, lumber and materials costs being impacted by the pandemic and supply chain issues, it's possible that a container home can actually be more cost beneficial versus building a stick built tiny house. So I would
Decor, the process that could be challenging if you're stylish. Oh, thank you. I've shared that a lot of my decor is decor that I've had for a number of years, so it was just making it part of my home. Um, and I always share that home should represent
your style looks like is something that you'd want to incorporate in your build. And I think one of the sessions that I'll do for the frequently asked questions will be around design and decor. So stay tuned for that. All right. How has your research been going on working with Black farmers to rent a part of their land for tiny homes? That's going fabulously. I have information. It will also be in the description around the cooperative communities. I have a list of farmers, landowners who are interested in allowing tiny house parking on their property, and I have a list of tiny of future tiny house owners and a few current tiny house owners, and that is going well. If you're interested in participating, you will be able to find the link once I upload the video and update the information in the description. You'll be able to find that information and the link to it in the description. All right. Oh, charisma, good. Okay, thank you. I'm glad I answered your question. All right, let's see. Have you worked with hempcrete or hemp block? I have not. I am not familiar with that product, so I don't even want to pretend that I am. All right. I know it's out of your control, but FYI, the system seems to be muting you often. It might be my device. I tried a different device this morning because I seem to be having trouble with my AirPods. I guess I might have to invest in a microphone. So I'll be working on that. Thanks for the feedback. Um, we'll be needing to get financing for our build, good credit, jobs, FYI, etc. We're 9 months to a year from when we would like to begin our build. When would you suggest contracting lenders for financing? So lenders, I'm not the tiny house lenders that are available, I'm not exactly sure of their process. If you're about 9 months out, I would definitely start having those conversations with lenders. If you're working with an RVIA certified builder, that's something that as you decide on your builder, that's a conversation that you could have with them, and they'd also be able to connect you with lenders. But if you're 9 months out, I'd absolutely start looking into that information now to give you an idea of where you're going, because it is absolutely one of the main components to the plan for your tiny house. So you want to do that as soon as possible. All right. I have land in Alabama open to leasing. Well, then you want to get connected within the cooperative communities. There's a participation form that you can complete so that you can be on the list and be available. Thank you very much for that. All right, let's see. I don't think I see any other questions. I'm going to go through and make sure I haven't missed anything. Yes, thank you so much. Like, share, subscribe, hit the notifications, especially if you have found value in this video. Please share it. Share it with your friends. Ask them to share it with their friends, and ask them to like and subscribe. And be sure to select the notifications so that you'll know when new content is available. All right, I am looking through. I don't see, just seeing you live for the first time. I am 66 years old and selling my home, looking for land. I've been following you since the beginning, researching areas and city standards. Congratulations to you. All right, here's my last question, maybe. Let's see. Oh, I've got two questions. Did HGTV contact you or vice versa? Did they ever reach out to see if you're still living tiny? When I was featured on HGTV, it was the first year for their series, Tiny House Big Living. So, yes, they put out a call on social media that they were looking for people who were building tiny houses. And so I filled out an interest form and then interviewed with them, and the rest was history. And then, yes, a year later, they did reach out, and they did I think it was called How Are They Living Now? So there were two episodes, HGTV episodes. And a year later, they circled back to see the people that were still living in tiny houses and to catch up with us. So that is out there. And I think it is How Are They Living Now? Thank you very much, Joanne. All right. When you travel for more than a month at a time, do you still have to pay utilities for that month? Do you ever Airbnb your place? Is that allowed in general? Yes, you still have to pay utilities. I mean, it's my house operates just like a regular house. So when you travel from your home, whatever utilities are become due, even though they're less because your house isn't, I guess the best way to say, in action. Absolutely, you still are going to pay your rent. You're still going to pay your utilities. Do you ever Airbnb your place? I Airbnb my home for just a few months as I was in between finding a location, and it wasn't necessarily because I wanted to Airbnb my home. It was more from a financial perspective, as I had issues at the previous location and needed the funds. But I have no intentions of Airbnb it again, which is why I kind of went through my big tiny house remix recently to make it home again. This is my space, and I want it to always be home. Thank you, Afia. Super chat. I thank you. And that's I appreciate that. I forgot to speak to super chat. Thank you so much. So as we're sharing, as I'm sharing the journey here in the conversation series, especially as I'm sharing guests and they're sharing their story, we are very open to super chats, and I'm more than happy to share my Cash App so that you can show your appreciation to the guests for sharing their story and their time and helping you on your journey. So thank you, Afia, for that super chat, and I and I appreciate it and hope that others will share that as they, not necessarily as I'm sharing, but as you're seeing other journeys shared here. I really appreciate your tiny house journey and wisdom and your design genius. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Sarah. Good morning. How's DC for tiny homes? Any contacts? DC had one of the very first tiny house communities in an alleyway. I do have friends who have tiny homes in backyards in DC, and there is a DC tiny house community on Facebook. So I would suggest that you get connected with that group on Facebook to learn the lay of the land for tiny houses in DC. Thank you, Afia. All right. I don't see any other questions. I thank you all for joining this morning, and I really appreciate the support. I hope that you have found this morning's frequently asked question on getting out of your own way for your journey to be of value. And again, it can be relative to whatever journey that you're on. Just being sure that you're able to get out of your head and move it to action. And so I hope you'll use these techniques, and I hope you will join us next week for conversations on intimate spaces. I have another wonderful guest lineup ready, and am excited to have them share their story with you. So please tune in next Sunday, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another installment of the Creating Home, a tiny house series, and we'll be having conversations on intimate spaces. Thanks so much, everyone, and have a great rest of your Sunday.